Hello everybody, it's George and I'm speaking to you here from an undisclosed location. Anyway, so welcome to Paris. No, sorry to disappoint you, not Texas. I'm in this very inferior Paris in l'Hexagone. I'm on Pont Neuf, and this is as the right bank of the River Seine, as in north, and the other's the left bank, surprise, surprise, as in if you're going from the source of the river down the river, which is on your left-hand side, so on your right-hand side, that's the left bank. Well, more left wing, well, slightly. It's difficult to generalize with a city this size, but that's where the 1968 uprising began. Not really an uprising. Anyway, the River Seine, which bisects Paris and meanders through it. And is that the Pont des Arts, I think? The one that lovers change their locks to. So this bridge here was built in 1578, took 29 years to finish. I think it was Henri IV who ordered it to be built, which is why there's the equestrian statue of him at the other end. And you just look at all this handiwork here. How about that? Sort of thing they have in London town. In Dublin we've got something a little bit similar. These faces, does he represent the Seine? I don't know. And those fish down there. Oh, is this the tradition of lovers put their locks here? Maybe the other bridge is full of them. And then down here, 1854. So Napoleon III, what do they renovate or broaden the bridge or something like that? But we're coming across to Ile de la Cité, which is in between the two halves really. Cité is not city in English, more like precinct. And that really was the heart of the city, inhabited from the middle of the 3rd century AD anyway. Lutetia, as they used to call it. And in some Latin inscriptions, even the 17th century referred to Paris as Lutetia. So there we go. I took a bateau mouche, I don't know what they call it, a flyboat up and down, and looked down at the embankment. Okay, traffic doesn't use that very much because that can flood quite easily. And there we go. Magnificent. And then the Paris Olympics, they had some sort of, the parade of nations, as it were, was up and down the Seine, first of all. And the theme was really women. It was meant to be distinguished French women down the centuries, some of whom were absolute monstresses. How should I say? Murderesses. But anyway, those are the people we're supposed to hold up as fine examples of womanhood. Right, so yeah, Paris has got several major islands. Ile-de-France is one of them. Ile des Cygnes, as in the island of swans. I was just thinking, Le Louvre and so on is on the right bank, and L'Arc de Triomphe on the left bank. You can see the Eiffel Tower. They got l'Assemblée Nationale, Quai d'Orsay, as in the foreign ministry, Le Panthéon. So they're kind of fairly evenly distributed, the important things. Right, so this is one of the most visited cities in the world. Is it the second most visited city in the world? Sometimes France has been the most visited country in the world by tourists because it's got these magnificent cities as well as marvelous beaches and skiing and vineyards and really all sorts of biomes. Okay, metropolitan France doesn't have jungle or desert really, but it's got just about everything else. And actually, by European standards, quite a large country, something like 700,000 kilometers almost. So almost 10 times the size of Ireland. Anyway, obviously using the euro. I'm disappointed at the excessive spread of the English language. I remember my childhood in the 80s when almost nobody spoke English, and that was fantastic because it obliged foreigners to learn French, and now it's too easy. And if you hesitate, they'll speak to you in English. Okay, and there's Henri IV. Vive Henri IV, ce diable à quatre a le triple talon, and so on. Okay, so the founder of the Bourbon dynasty, King of Navarre, baptized a Catholic initially. When he was a baby, they converted to Protestantism. Some of the Huguenots during the French Wars of Religion, the Wars of the Three Henrys, the Catholic League on one side, led by the Duke of Guise, and the monarchy in the middle, and on the other side, the Huguenots, and he was their leader. Eventually converted to Catholicism to become king. Paris vaut bien une messe. Paris is worth a mass. You should see that film, La Reine Margot, about him. He was assassinated in the end by, I think it was a Catholic fanatic, like his son Louis XIII. What else about him? That's it. So that's why the King of France was King of France and Navarre. Navarre being a tiny place in the Pyrenees, sort of in between France and Spain. So we're coming up to the Latin Quarter, which is forward, and then to the right. So some very distinguished writers lived in there. There's also that celebrated photograph, Les Amants de Pont Neuf, as in the lovers of New Bridge. This man and this woman snogging, taken I think just after the Second World War. A bit similar to a photo like that from New York, supposedly a jubilant couple on VJ Day. But these days we regard it as a Me Too moment, other than the New York one. I think the Parisian one was consensual, but I believe the couple have both died, sort of in their late teens when it was taken. So neuf, in the sense, not sense of number 9, in the sense of new. I don't know if it is the 9th bridge. There we go. It's a stone arch bridge, and it's got these curious creatures called mascarons carved into the side of it. They're a bit like gargoyles, but I'm not going to get. Oh, I can see them with the naked eye. You probably can't make them out very well. That embankment over there. Okay, that's a little bit about Pont Neuf. Anyway, we're going to go to Notre Dame quite soon because it's reopened for the first time in several years. We had that terrible fire just before the first lockdown. It was in Paris in 2020. It was still under reconstruction. So Notre Dame, as in Our Lady, the Blessed Virgin Mary. And that was, I suppose, the religious centre of France for a very, very long time. But even when, say, an Air France plane crashed going to Paris, there's some sort of memorial service there. Now, laïcité is a core principle of the French constitution. Well, you would have thought because of this secularism, they wouldn't be able to do that, because that's favouring one religious denomination, or indeed religion at all. But they did it. So what should I say? Oh yeah, Pont Neuf was also a place for jugglers, fire eaters. It was a pickup point for hookers to try and get some trade and things like that. But they thought there was too much immorality and too much mess there, so sort of various cleanups there. What else could I say? There used to be people selling books there, and up and down the Seine people were selling books as well. I remember when I came here, was like April 2006, seeing how enticing Paris was, and thinking had I been born decades earlier, it would have been even more attractive, when I couldn't go to much of the world, or lots of things that people couldn't publish in Ireland, like the works of James Joyce, were printed here by Shakespeare and Company, that Anglophone bookshop. And if you could convince the owner that you really were a writer, she'd let you sleep on the floor for free. I don't know if they still do that. I mean, obviously the original owner is long dead, set up by an American expatriate. Makes me think of Bill Bryson, who said, well, you don't want to mix with the sort of American who lives in Paris, okay? But there are some Americans who are real francophiles after Lafayette and all that. Anyway, that's enough about Pont Neuf, so warmly recommend it. Paris divided the arrondissements, a bit like boroughs, or a bit like, in Dublin, there's Dublin 1, Dublin 2, Dublin 3, Dublin 4, and so on. The arrondissements very boringly are numbered, but they're concentric, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that, going outwards. Okay, I'll switch it off now. Toodaloo.